Vasudevaya.
Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya.
Canto 6, Prescribed Duties for Mankind. Chapter 1, The History of Life of Ajamila. We are on text 51. Tat etat shodashakalam lingam shakti trayam mahat dattenu samsritim pumsi harshashoka vayartitam. Translation. The subtle body is endowed with 16 parts. The 5 knowledge acquiring senses, the 5 working senses, the 5 objects of sense gratification, and the mind. This subtle body is an effect of the 3 modes of material nature. It is composed of insurmountably strong desires, and therefore it causes the living entity to transmigrate from one body to another in human life, animal life, and life as a demigod. When the living entity gets the body of a demigod, he is certainly very jubilant. When he gets a human body, he is always in lamentation. And when he gets the body of an animal, he is always afraid. In all conditions, however, he is actually miserable. This miserable condition is called samsriti, or transmigration in material life. So, who's a big car? Somebody's car is blocking?
Yeah, Ram Tulsi Madhya.
Big car? Maybe mine.
That's yours?
Yes, he's got a big car.
That small green car.
No, he's small guy wants big car. It's normal, no?
Put it in the grass.
Grass
No grass anymore.
Yeah, keep the left side always open because that's the way your car has to go. I think apart from right, behind some car. Behind the car is okay, right side is fine.
सारी कार लेफ्ट में ही है.
When we
सारी
enter, right
कारें
is
लेफ्ट
fine.
में है.
All the left.
हाँ, राइट में कोई कार
So put always on the right side so that
Okay.
America.
Alright, so in the translation, Srila Prabhupada translates, he says it is composed of insurmountably strong desires, the subtle body, because it's made of the 3 modes, and it's affected by the 3 modes also. Insurmountably strong desires. So what it tells us is, it's not easy to have a body, because it's going to have so many desires that's going to pull us here and there, and therefore it causes the living entity to transmigrate from one body to another in human life, and then animal life, then life as a demigod. So generally when we get something nice, we are happy, and when we don't get what we want, we are always lamenting. And when, according to this statement, when you are in an animal's body, you are always afraid. So it is quite true, no? When you look at birds and then you open the window to look at them, they fly. They are always afraid. Any bird also, even lions and tigers, they are always afraid also. But because they are fearless, they will fight back like that. So this transmigration of the living entity going into all this different body is called samsriti. So his miserable condition is called samsriti. The heart struggle is samsriti, or conditional life. So that is the main understanding. The other point here Srila Prabhupada makes is the insurmountably strong desires is due to the material nature. And the material nature is insurmountable itself. Devi Eshu Gunamaya. So he makes that point also. So material life is very difficult. It's just that we are used to it. We are so used to it, we are thinking it's okay. Right? So the living entity can go through. Remember we read in the 5th canto, they go through hell. They go through millions of lifetimes in hell, suffering, and still they come out okay. So they have the ability to tolerate. No? So why tolerate that misery? Tolerate the misery to please Krishna, like that. Well, when you tolerate for Krishna, it's blissful. It shouldn't be miserable. Text 52.
देह्यज्ञो अजितः सद्वर्गो
देयज्ञो जिता सद्वर्गो
नेच्छन् कर्माणि कार्यते
निच्छन् कर्माणि कार्यते
कोशकार इवात्मानं
कोशकार इवात्मानं
कर्माणात् श्रद्धया मुह्यति
कर्मणाचाद्यामुयति. The foolish embodied living entity, inept at controlling his senses and mind, is forced to act according to the influence of the modes of material nature, against his desires. He is like a silkworm that uses its own saliva to create a cocoon and then becomes trapped in it, with no possibility of getting out. The living entity traps himself in a network of his own fruitive activities and then can find no way to release himself. Thus he is always bewildered and repeatedly he dies. So this is a living entity that doesn't have spiritual understanding. Okay. Basically this living entity wants to just enjoy the material nature, but what happens is there are reactions. For every desire we have, there's a reaction. It could be a positive reaction or negative. We cannot, in one sense we say positive and negative, but actually it's just pious or impious. But really we don't want both pious or impious, because they are both entangled, just like the silkworm is covered. So it covers us, whether it's good or bad. We get good life or bad life, but we are trapped in it, and there's no way to release himself because he doesn't know. So generally, if there's someone who is merciful, like some spiritual person, like Narada Muni or some Acharya, then they come and intervene in these difficulties we are in. Just like if you look at your own life, you should know how much you suffered before you became a devotee. If you don't think you suffered, then you should look carefully and then you understand you were suffering, and then you'll realize that now the relief is relief. You are relieved from all those things, but the real problem is not practicing properly. Yeah. So that's what it is. So in the translation, in the purport, Srila Prabhupada in the last line says, getting free is very difficult unless he is helped by the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Right? So either by his representative or directly the Supreme Lord intervenes. Text 53.
Nahi kaschit kshanam api jatu tishtatya karma krit karyate hyavasah karma gunaihi swabhavikair balat.
Not a single living entity can remain unengaged even for a moment. One must act by his natural tendency according to the three modes of material nature, because this natural tendency forcibly makes him work in a particular way. Thank you. So, we read about this in the Bhagavad Gita, right? The living entity is forced to do by the three modes. They pull him left, right, center, like that, so according to his tendency, he has to do something. And Prabhupada writes that one swabhava or natural tendency is the most important factor in action. So in your own life, you can see what is your swabhava, right? Are you pulled to a mode of goodness kind of activity, mode of passion, or mode of ignorance kind of activity? So you understand based on that what your natural tendency is. But even if you do in one of these gunas, the reality is we always want to serve, right? Prabhupada says one's natural tendency is to serve because a living entity is an eternal servant of God. He is part and parcel of the Lord, but his eternal role was to serve. So that tendency is always there. That is the nature of water is liquid. Yeah. So the nature of the soul is to serve. So that is the proper understanding. But because he forgets his relationship with the Supreme Lord, he does it through different modes of nature. Yeah. Right? So maybe in the mode of ignorance, mode of passion, like he's trying to serve either himself or someone else, or his family members, like that. So in that end of that paragraph, Srila Prabhupada writes, the duty of a human being is to understand that since he is essentially spirit, he must abide by the spiritual tendency and not be carried away by material tendencies. That's a very good point. Because first of all, we have to understand we are spirit. If you don't accept that point that you are spirit, then how can you work according to the rules of the spirit? Right? You will just work according to your senses. So therefore Prabhupada wants us to understand this. The duty is spiritual. Yeah. Otherwise we will be carried away by material tendencies or what we are conditioned under. So that is a very important point for us to consider very carefully. If we do that properly, then our material tendencies will go away. The fact that the spiritual tendency comes through means it is our true nature also. Okay? And we are happier. Right? You'll find that when you take up more spiritual activities, you find more please supersede the tea. Right? One becomes very satisfied. So that is the original feeling. It comes out naturally. So therefore Prabhupada says a natural tendency. So we shouldn't forget that. Text 54.
Labdva nimittam avyaktam vyakta vyaktam bhavatyuta yata yoni yata bijam svabhavena baliyasa.
The fruity activities a living being performs, whether pious or impious, are the unseen cause for the fulfillment of his desires. This unseen cause is the root for the living entity's different bodies. Because of his intense desire, the living entity takes birth in a particular family and receives a body which is either like that of his mother or like that of his father. The gross and subtle bodies are created according to his desire. So from previous life you had a desire, and then that particular desire suits a particular family or caste or kingdom or whatever. So if you say why I am born here, it's because you chose it. So if you want to blame, you just stand in front of the mirror and blame that person.
So is it only desire or also what one deserves? Like one might desire to be a multimillionaire.
Yeah, but you see, it's all based on previous desires plus your karma, Yeah, then based on that, the super soul decides this is what you deserve. Yeah. Right? So, we all want the perfect life. Every living entity, but then everyone cannot occupy the post of President of the United States at the same time. Right? It's incompatible. So then someone must give way. So therefore you have all desire and deserve stuff coming through. Yeah. So in this life you are not qualified. So maybe in a next life, as many kingdoms there are, that many kings you can be. That's all. Right? So it's based on our desire. So we have to see, and we can understand why we take birth in a certain family also. But the bottom line is, if you work very hard to become a devotee, you don't have to take another body. But if you fail to do it, then Suchinam Srimite Gehe, right? You short or long, then you end up in some aristocratic family, or you go to the heavenly planets. So you have to decide. So again, it's based on our desires only. Whatever we want in the next life, you make a decision now. I have to get connected to Krishna now in this life. I'm not going to put it off, because anything can happen to you or to the whole world. if you don't, then you continue transmigration. So the last couple of sentences, Prabhupada writes, this is the process of the transmigration of the soul. Therefore, instead of trying to unite human society through pacts for sense gratification that can never be achieved, it is clearly desirable to teach people how to become Krishna conscious and return home back to Godhead. Right? Well, that's what's happening. Right? Each country they write pacts, treaty and so on, and economic sanctions and all based on sense gratification. How much they can have sense gratification, how little we can control their sense gratification. So this is true now and indeed at any time, Prabhupada says. So any time you pick up, it's always the fact. Okay, text 55.
येष प्रकृति संगेन पुरुषस्य विपर्ययः
आसीत् स एव न चिरात्
ईशः संगात्
विलीयते. Since the living entity is associated with material nature, he is in an awkward position. But if in the human form of life he is taught how to associate with the Supreme Personality of Godhead or his devotee, this position can be overcome. Very nice translation, I would say. Bottom line is he needs to know what to do, what is right, what is wrong. Simple things. Just like if your child is taught very early in the life, they find it easy to understand. It is too late to fix them when they are in their mid-20s and 30s. It's very hard. They have too much doubts. For the doubting soul, happiness in this world, now in the next. Nayam lo kristina parona sukham na samsayatmanaha. So it's not possible. So we cannot, say no, I'll fix later. Everything will be fixable. It's not fixable. Right? There's an old saying also, when the grass is, or when the plant is young, you can bend it in different way, shape it, But when it's pretty old, you can't, you'll break it. Yeah, the branch is very hard like that. So we have to be understanding. So this is the same point that has been made here. If they are taught early and if they know what is the goal, then they can take it up seriously. The question is, can they take it up seriously anytime? Yes. But the question you should ask also, why some people take it seriously, why some don't? You have to think carefully why. In the purport, Srila Prabhupada writes at the end, again in a paragraph, liberation means giving up this false consciousness and reviving one's original service to the Lord. This return to one's original life is called mukti, as confirmed in Srimad Bhagavatam. Mukti hitvan yatha rupam swarupena vyavastitihi. So this movement, Srila Prabhupada always says, ISKCON is the movement for this kind of education. Right? So that's what we are trying to do. We are trying to help people understand how to become liberated. And our liberation means going back to Godhead. Yeah. Okay. Text 56-57.
Ayam hi shruta sampannah शीलवृत्ता गुणालयः धृतव्रतो मृदुर्दन्तः सत्यवान् मन्त्रविच्युचिः गुरुवग्ने अतिथिवृद्धानां शुश्रूषोरनहाङ्कृतः सर्वभूतसहृत्साधु मीतवाग् अनसूयकः.
In the beginning, this Brahmana named Ajamila studied all the Vedic literatures. He was a reservoir of good character, good conduct and good qualities, firmly established in executing all the Vedic injunctions. He was very mild and gentle, and he kept his mind and senses under control. Furthermore, he was always truthful. He knew how to chant the Vedic mantras, and he was also very pure. Ajamila was very respectful to his spiritual master, the fire god, guests, and the elderly members of his household. Indeed, he was free from false prestige. He was upright, benevolent to all living entities, and well behaved. He would never speak nonsense or envy anyone. Look, he has better qualities than all of us put together. He had all good qualities, but because of bad association. In the purport at the end, Srila Prabhupada writes, Ajamila followed the rules and regulations of celibacy as a perfect brahmachari and was very soft-hearted, truthful, clean and pure. How he fell down in spite of all these qualities and thus came to be threatened with punishment by Yamaraja will be described in the following verses. So we will find out. Text 58-60.
एकादशो वनं यातः
एकादशो वनं यातः
पितृसन्देशकृद्विजः आदाय तत आवृत्तः फलपुष्पसमित्कुशान् ददर्शाकामिनां काञ्चित् शूद्रं सह भुजिष्यया पित्वा समधुमैरेयम् मदाघूर्णितनेत्रया मत्तया विश्लतान्निव्या व्यपेतं निरपत्रपम् क्रीडन्तम् अनुगायन्तम् हसन्तम् अनयाङ्किते.
Once this Brahmana, Ajamila, following the order of his father, went to the forest to collect fruit, flowers and two kinds of grass called Samit and Kusha. On the way home he came upon a Shudra, a very lusty fourth-class man, who was shamelessly embracing and kissing a prostitute. The Shudra was smiling, singing and enjoying as if this were proper behavior. Both the Shudra and the prostitute were drunk. The prostitute's eyes were rolling in intoxication and her dress had become loose. Such was the condition in which Ajamila saw them. I mean, this is very common nowadays. Those days they were shocked. Nowadays you are shocked to see anyone who is decent. So in the purport, Prabhupada writes in the middle of the purport, in Kali Yuga, a drunk, half-naked woman embracing a drunk man is a very common sight, especially in Western countries. Now everywhere. And restraining oneself after seeing such things is very difficult. Nevertheless, if by the grace of Krishna one adheres to the regulative principles and chants the Hare Krishna mantra, Krishna will certainly protect him. Indeed, Krishna says that his devotee is never vanquished. Kontaye pratijanihi name bhakta pranashyati. Therefore, all the disciples practicing Krishna consciousness should obediently follow the regulative principles and remain fixed in chanting the holy name of the Lord. He says, he's telling everyone, all disciples. Then there need be no fear. Otherwise, one's position is very dangerous, especially in this Kali Yuga. Which is true everywhere. Everywhere. Even you think you get your children some games, even that is also contaminating. Huh?
One day, we went to shop. We saw one Mataji wearing a skirt and he saying, she's not wearing any dress.
Yeah. So you see a child telling.
3 years.
Exactly. So just imagine, they get all disturbed. I find that funny. But because he is trained, he has not seen something like that. Even his school, everyone is well dressed. So this is Kali Yuga. Everything is upside down. Text 61.
दृष्ट्वा तां कामलिप्तेन बाहुना परिवराम्भितां जगाम हृच्छयवासं सहसैव विमोहितः.
The Shudra, his arm decorated with turmeric powder, was embracing the prostitute. When Ajamila saw her, the dormant lusty desires in his heart awakened, and in illusion he fell under their control. So therefore you shouldn't see such things. Actually you shouldn't see even animals doing it also, you shouldn't see, because it subtly affects you, and then later on it comes out. Prabhupada writes, if one's body is smeared with turmeric, it attracts the lusty desires of the opposite sex. I never heard of this before. So don't put turmeric on your body. Text 62.
Stambhayanatmanatmanam
Stambhayanatmanatmanam
Yavat sattvam yatashrutam
Yavat sattvam yatashrutam
Nashashaka samadhatum
Nashashaka samadhatum
Manomadana vepitam
Manomadana vepitam. As far as possible, he patiently tried to remember the instructions of the Shastras, not even to see a woman. With the help of this knowledge and his intellect, he tried to control his lusty desires. But because of the force of Cupid within his heart, he failed to control his mind. Actually, many devotees go through this phase, but because they never get a proper association, guidance, they don't know how to become stronger and control their mind. And if they try to ask somebody, they become, or they've been ridiculed, oh, you have this problem, and then they put it on Facebook or make fun of that devotees and stuff like that. So they never really get any proper guidance and support, which is a tendency in society. If you go to school, you do something, they all make fun of the kids like that, and then they text one another, say this person is like that, like that. So ridicule, making people feel uncomfortable, picking on people, this is the culture nowadays. So even if you are very strong, it's very difficult to face alone. So Ajamil was all alone. He didn't have a good group of devotee association who can guide him and bring him out of this difficult period. So you can see his situation. He didn't even do one of the 6 exchanges to reveal his mind to his father or whatever associates, and to see how they can help him. So that situation never occurred, and he tried on his own. You know, we always think we are stronger than the material energy, right? So, but we are not actually. The moment you think you can overcome material energy means you already fallen. Okay. Text 63.
Tannimitta smara vyaja Grahagrasto vichetanaha Tam eva manasa dhyayan Swadharma viraramaha.
In the same way that the sun and moon are eclipsed by a low planet, the Brahmana lost all his good sense. Taking advantage of this situation, he always thought of the prostitute, and within the short time he took her as a servant in his house and abandoned all the regulative principles of a Brahmana. So quickly he fell down like that. Very short time he took her as a servant. So always in your mind it will come out, thinking, feeling, finally willing. So when we have such thoughts in our heart and mind, we have to somehow try to get it out, purify ourselves. But he couldn't. Srila Prabhupada says devotional service in the middle of that, which begins with chanting of the holy name of the Lord, is so powerful that even if one falls down from the exalted position of a Brahmana through sexual indulgence, he can be saved from all calamities if he somehow or other chants the holy name of the Lord. This is the extraordinary power of the Lord's holy name. Therefore we should be chanting all the time, Satatam Kirtanto Mam. Okay. And in the last sentence, Prabhupada says there are so many dangers in this material world that one may fall down from an exalted position at any time. Yet if one keeps himself always pure and steady in chanting the Hare Krishna Mahamantra, he will be safe without a doubt. So how was he associating? He was associating with the prostitute in his mind. So we may say, oh, he never went out, he's always at home. But it's happening in the mind. So similarly, when you put a TV on and let the children watch, right, he's associating, she is associating in the mind. So association in the mind is just as bad as associating in person. Yeah.
So, Prabhu, is it right to think that you do your devotion service sincerely, but you always have the confidence that Lord will protect me? Is that the right attitude, or is that again
I think
expecting from God?
Yeah, I think that statement sounds like expecting. Rather, you should say, Lord, I don't want to fall down. Prabhupada says he was worshipping in front of deity, so his disciple asked, what are you doing? He said, I'm praying I don't fall down. But he said, Prabhupada, he said, well, you Westerners think you all can overcome Maya, but that is your problem, Yeah, so our mood should always be, Lord, I don't want to fall down. I want to continue my worship properly, like that. Otherwise, we have this false sense of security, right? You'll think, oh, the Lord is protecting me. But that's the danger. That is why Prabhupada says one should always steady and chant. Be steady and chant nicely. Text 64.
Tam eva toshayam asha
Tameva toshayamasa
pitriyenarthena yavata
Pitriyena tena yavata
gramyair manoramai kamaihi
Gramye manoramai kamai
prasideta yata tata
Prasideta yata tata. Thus Ajamila began spending whatever money he had inherited from his father to satisfy the prostitute with various material presentations so that she would remain pleased with him. He gave up all his Brahminical activities to satisfy the prostitute. So totally, he changed his situation. And this is one of the reasons why Srila Prabhupada says one should not indulge in illicit activities, illicit sex. Because then you'll do all out of your nature. Contaminated mind. Purport. In the middle of the purport, Prabhupada says one should be satisfied with his married wife or husband, for even a slight deviation will create havoc. A Krishna conscious Grihastha should always remember this. That is for all of us. He should always be satisfied with one wife or husband and be peaceful simply by chanting the Hare Krishna mantra. Otherwise, at any moment, he may fall down from his good position, as exemplified in the case of Ajamila.
So Prabhu, one reason he said is a lack of association. But could also be that he lacked the higher taste in devotion service, or how easily he could fall down then?
Well, you can say that he didn't have a higher taste. But even if someone has a higher taste, if they come across such a situation and not safeguard themselves, they can also still fall. All they have to do is such thoughts. In this case, initially he started meditating and all, but then he didn't have the strength because he didn't get the proper association to overcome his deficiencies. He kept thinking about it, So, in a sense, he wasn't at the stage where he could have had a higher taste. Also, you can say like that. Yeah.
Prabhupada also said that accidents can happen in the royal roads.
That is also there, but we all can't say we all are having accidents. Yeah, you are right. You can have. Yeah. But the whole point is, any moment you can fall down from a good position. Anyway. And that is the case of Ajamil. Yeah. Prabhupada gives that example. He says anyone can fall. So he says he should always be satisfied one way, be peaceful simply by chanting the Hare Krishna mantra. So even if you have difficulty, it doesn't matter. Just tolerate. The whole idea is to tolerate. Instead of looking for, you're thinking this situation is uncomfortable, therefore you look for a comfortable situation. A comfortable situation means you're seeing materially only. Okay? So, but if you see it as something I have to go through and this is something is for me, my own benefit, then you see it spiritually. The perception is different. Huh? A person who is not happy with, like Srila Prabhupada was married and he was not happy with his wife. And so he told his father, I'll marry a second woman and I've picked this particular girl. And then Prabhupada's father told him, no, you are lucky, you don't like your wife. It'll be beneficial for you later on. And then Prabhupada mentions that, because he tolerated whatever difficulty, and in the end he saw that was a benefit, a benediction, that he could just leave his home because of that person.
All of us are saved.
Huh? And we are all saved because of that. Yeah. Even if you have a higher taste, that taste must be truly strong though. In the beginning all of us took the process because we had a higher taste. But we're not going higher than that, right? In a sense, yeah. So that has to be very important. Text 65.
Vipram svabharyam apraudam
Vipram sabharyam apraudam
kule mahati lambhitam visasarja shira papaha vairinya panga
vidadihi. Because his intelligence was pierced by the lustful glance of the prostitute, the victimized Brahmana, Ajamila engaged in sinful acts in her association. He even gave up the company of his very beautiful young wife, who came from a very respectable Brahmana family. So this is, can't understand actually, right? You really can't understand. He had a higher class, better quality wife, still he is not interested. So therefore in the Prabhupada at the end, Prabhupada says, how did this happen? He was victimized by the dangerous, lustful glance of a prostitute. So sometimes how people look at you also have an impact in your life. Amazing, huh? We don't think about all these things, but it has impact. Okay. Text 66.
Yatastataschopaninye Nyayato anyayato dhanam Bhavarashya kutumbinyaha Kutumbam mandadhirayam. Although born of a Brahmana family, this rascal, bereft of intelligence because of the prostitute's association, earned money somehow or other, regardless of whether properly or improperly, and used it to maintain the prostitute's sons and daughters. So he began to indulge into bad habits, went against the rules, the regulations, the culture, everything, as long as he could please the prostitute. Text 67. Yad asau shastram ullangya Svairacharyate garhitaha Avartata chiram kalam Aghayor asuchir malat.
This Brahmana irresponsibly spent his long lifetime transgressing all the rules and regulations of the Holy Scripture, living extravagantly and eating food prepared by a prostitute. Therefore he is full of sins. He is unclean and is addicted to forbidden activities. So these Yamadutas are really not happy with him. Text 68.
Putting a strong case in it.
Yeah, they are arguing their case. Like in the courthouse. Text 68.
Tatayenam dandapanehe Sakasham kritakilbisham Neshyamo akrita nirvesham Yatra dandena shuddhyate.
This man, Ajamila, did not undergo atonement. Therefore, because of his sinful life, we must take him into the presence of Yamaraja for punishment. There, according to the extent of his sinful acts, he will be punished and thus purified. So remember in the beginning, Sukadeva Goswami was telling Parishit Maharaj to
if you do some mistake, in pious activity, you should do some atonement. So here we can understand that he didn't do any atonement at all, for small problems you do small atonement, for big things you do big atonement. But the best is devotional service. It overcomes everything.
Or don't do it at all.
All don't do it, you can't. That is jnana, right? You think you can hold yourself, but you will make some mistake eventually. Yeah, the best is devotional service. Thus end the Bhaktivedanta purports of the 6th canto, 1st chapter of the Srimad Bhagavatam, entitled The History of the Life of Ajamila. Chapter 2, Ajamila delivered by the Vishnu Dutas. Text 1.
Sri Badarayani Uvacha Evam te Bhagavadduta Yamaduta Vibhashitam Upadharyata Tan Rajan Pratyahurnaya Kovidaha.
Sukadeva Goswami said, "My dear king, the servants of Lord Vishnu are always very expert in logic and arguments." After hearing the statements of the Yamadutas, they replied as follows. Text 2.
Shri Vishnu Duta Uchuhu Aho Kashtam Dharmadrisham Adharma Sprushate Shabham Yatra Dandeshva Papeshu Dando Yairdriyate Vratha.
The Vishnu Dutas said, "Alas, how painful it is that irreligion is being introduced into an assembly where religion should be maintained. Indeed, those in charge of maintaining the religious principles are needlessly punishing a sinless, unpunishable person." That's an interesting argument here. The thing here is the Vishnu Dutas tell the Yamadutas that they are wrong, but they haven't given the reason yet. But they're just telling you're wrong. So sometimes we also, when we are discussing with one another, we just say you're wrong. We don't even put our points properly, and then we expect people to hear. But here the Vishnu Dutas have a position, so they are saying it. In the purport at the beginning, Srila Prabhupada says the Vishnu Dutas accused the Yamadutas of violating the religious principles by attempting to drag Ajamila to Yamaraj for punishment. And they are right, they have the right, because he is already purified. Yeah. Yamaraj is the officer appointed by the Supreme Personality of Godhead to judge religious and irreligious principles and to punish people who are irreligious. However, if completely sinless people are punished, the entire assembly of Yamaraja is contaminated. Similarly, even in family situation, office, anywhere, if you are punishing someone, if they haven't done anything wrong, then the whole place is contaminated. Everyone there is taking some reaction. This principle applies not only in the assembly of Yamaraj, but throughout human society also. Okay, so one has to be very careful how you judge another person. Next paragraph, middle of the paragraph. Sometimes religious men who preach the Krishna consciousness movement for the benefit of the entire populace are arrested and harassed by the police and courts. The Vishnu Dutas, who are Vaishnavas, lamented for these very regrettable facts. Because of spiritual compassion for all the fallen souls, Vaishnavas go out to preach according to the standard method of all religious principles. But unfortunately, because of the influence of Kali Yuga, Vaishnavas who have dedicated their lives to preaching the glories of the Lord are sometimes harassed and punished by courts on false charges of disturbing the peace. In some countries you can't even go. You cannot even openly preach. You will be either put in prison or killed or whatever. We have to be very careful. Text 3.
Prajanam pitaro yecha Shastara sadava samaha
Shastara sadava samaha
Yadisyateshu vaishamyam
Yudisyateshu vaishamyam
Kamyanti sharanam prajaha
Kamyanti charanam prajaha. A king or governmental official should be so well qualified that he acts as a father, maintainer and protector of the citizens because of affection and love. He should give the citizens good advice and instructions according to the standard scriptures and should be equal to everyone. Yamaraja does this, for he is the supreme master of justice, and so do those who follow in his footsteps. However, if such persons become polluted and exhibit partiality by punishing an innocent, blameless person, where will the citizens go to take shelter for their maintenance and security? So the Vishnu Devas are really hitting it hard, right? Because the person is pure, so and the Yamadutas don't know that, so therefore they are telling them off. In the purport, after 3 lines down, Prabhupada writes, the duty of the government therefore is to take charge of training all the citizens in such a way that by a gradual process they will be elevated to the spiritual platform and will realize the self and his relationship with God. So there is a specific function most government meant to do. Not just government, even within the society level, within a nation, society, village, family, they are all meant to train the citizens or the family members to take up the spiritual platform. It is not just the government, it is their job, we don't have to practice, unless they say we don't do it. No, it is all the way up to the nucleus of a family situation. It must be centered around Krishna consciousness. That person must understand their platform as well as their relationship with God. Couple of lines after that, Prabhupada writes, unfortunately, in the name of democracy, rogues and thieves are electing other rogues and thieves to the most important posts in the government. Yeah, recently this has been proven in America, where the president had to be condemned and dragged down from his post by the citizens. This is about Nixon. This is only one case, but there are many others. So it's the same thing. After many years, it haven't changed. Couple of lines after that. When a Vaishnava sees mismanagement in the government, he feels great compassion in his heart and tries his best to purify the situation by spreading the Hare Krishna movement. Therefore, we are supposed to build this compassion in our heart. So go and try and help others. Text 4.
Yadyat acharati shreyan
Yadacharati shreyan
Itarastattat ihate
Itarastattat ihate
Sayat pramanam kurute
Sayat pramanam kurute
Lokastat anuvartate
Lokastat anuvartate. Same verse in Bhagavad Gita.
Second line change.
Yeah, just one line change. The mass of people follow the example of a leader in society and imitate his behavior. They accept as evidence whatever the leader accepts. Okay. In the purport, Srila Prabhupada writes in the last sentence, the Hare Krishna movement is the right movement for ameliorating the fallen condition of human society. And therefore governments and public leaders in every part of the world should support this movement to completely rectify humanity's sinful condition. So Prabhupada was speaking to there's a conversation to the chief of police in Chicago. So he said, you give us one, you have so many, fightings going on, give us one building and I'll show you, I can fix this problem you are having with all the criminals. They didn't want to help out. Yeah, they didn't want to help. And you can see the problem is still going on in Chicago.
New Year Day, I think they killed 200 people. Chicago.
New Year's Day in Chicago, he said 200 people got killed. They got so happy. New Year.
From New Year.
From New Year.
Oh, from New
From
Year's.
New Year.
Till now.
Not, I think within 10 days or something.
27 days. That's a lot. Texts 5 and 6.
Yasyanke shira adhaya
Yasyanke shira adhaya
lokaswapita nivritah
lokaswapiti nirvrittah
swayam dharmam adharmam va
swayam dharmam adharmam va
nahi vedayata pashuhu
nahi vedayata pashu
sakatham nyarpita atmanam
sakatam nyarpitatmanam
kritamaitram acetanam
kritamaitam chetanam
vishrambhaniyo bhutanam
vishvambhaniyo bhutanam
saghranodogdumarhati.
People in general are not very advanced in knowledge. Why we should discriminate between religion and irreligion? The innocent, unenlightened citizen is like an ignorant animal sleeping in peace with its head on the lap of its master, faithfully believing in the master's protection. If a leader is actually kind-hearted and deserves to be the object of a living entity's faith, how can he punish or kill a foolish person who has fully surrendered in good faith and friendship? Just like animals, right? They trust you, particularly calves and so on. No? But then they will take them to slaughterhouse and cut the head. No? That's how people are. In the Prabhupada says, the Sanskrit word Vishvasta Gata, Vishvasta. What is yours? Oh, no, Sanskrit probably. Vishvasta Gata refers to one who breaks faith or causes a breach of trust. The mass of people should always feel security because of the government's protection. Therefore, how regrettable it is for the government itself to cause a breach of trust. And then Prabhupada talks about his own experience, couple of lines down. He says, the Hindus and Muslims kill one another over politics. Right? Because the government set them up against each other. You know? That's horrible. So similarly, animals also trust human beings to be protected. Poshanam, to be protected. But then what the men do? They take it to slaughterhouse to chop them, they eat them like that. So therefore, how can one put faith in such situation? Which is what the Vishnu Dutas are saying. How can you put faith in such protection when there is no protection? Text 7.
Ayam hi krita nirvesho
Ayam hi krita nirvesho
janma kotyam saham api
janma koti anghasam api
yad vyajahara vivasho
yad vyajahara vivasho
namaswastyayanam harehe
namaswastyayanam hare. Jamila has already atoned for all his sinful actions. Indeed, he has atoned not only for sins performed in one life, but for those performed in millions of lives. For in a helpless condition, he chanted the holy name of Narayana. Even though he did not chant purely, he chanted without offense, and therefore he is now pure and eligible for liberation. So now they are telling. First they want to make their point that everything you're doing is wrong. And your claim to be leaders of society, Yamaraj, So in the whole thing here is, the emphasis here, Srila Prabhupada makes is that chanting of the holy name, the importance of chanting the holy name. The chanting of holy name has purified Ajamila for all the sins he has committed. So therefore, because he is already clear of all the sins, how can he be punished? That is the statement there. How can he be punished? The root cause for the tendency to sin is now eliminated or removed. So chanting is very important. Text 8.
Etenaiva hyagonasya kritam syad aganishkritam
kritam syad aganishkritam
yada narayana
Yada Narayana eti
Jagada Chakuraksharam.
Jagata Chatur Aksharam. The Vishnu Dutas continued. Even previously, while eating and at other times, this Ajamila would call his son, saying, "My dear Narayana, please come here." Although calling the name of his son, he nevertheless uttered the 4 syllables Narayana. People change it to Narayan. Simply by chanting the names of Narayana in this way, he sufficiently atoned for the sinful reactions of millions of lives. Interesting, huh? So what to speak about devotees who are really chanting. They are trying to get the taste of the holy name, like that. Now, of course, after reading this, you cannot then use it for the wrong reason. So therefore Prabhupada says, Namno balad yasyahi papa buddhi. So you cannot therefore, on the strength of chanting, commit offenses. Okay. And then 4 lines down he says, one who always chants the holy name of the Lord without offenses is always pure. As confirmed in this verse, Ajamila was already sinless, and because he chanted the name of Narayana, he remained sinless. It did not matter that he was calling his son, the name itself was effective. So he wasn't chanting to counteract his sin, not at all. So he was not offensive. Texts 9 and 10.
Stena Surapo Mitradrug.
Stena Surapo Mitradrug.
Brahmaha Gurutalpagaha.
Brahmaha Gurutalpagaha.
Stri Raja Pitragohanta.
Sri Raja Pitrigohanta.
Yecha Patakino Pare.
Yecha Patakino Pare.
Sarvesham api aghastva. Sarvesham api Agavatam.
Sarvesham abhyagavatam.
Idam yeva sunishkritam.
Idam eva sunishkritam.
Nama vyavaharanam Vishnu.
Nama vyaharanam Vishnur.
Yatastad vishayamatihi.
Yatastad vishayamatihi. The chanting of the holy name of Lord Vishnu is the best process of atonement for a thief of gold or other valuables, for a drunkard, for one who betrays a friend or relative, for one who kills a brahmana, or for one who indulges in sex with the wife of his guru or another superior. It is also the best method of atonement for one who murders women, the king or his father, for one who slaughters cows, and for all other sinful men. Simply by chanting the holy name of Lord Vishnu, such sinful persons may attract the attention of Supreme Lord, who therefore considers, because this man has chanted my holy name, my duty is to give him protection. So you can see the whole theme is protection. The Lord is protecting his devotee. Text 11.
Nanishkritai ruditai brahmavadibis.
Nanishkritai ruditai brahmavadibis.
Tata vishuddhyat yagavan vratadibihi.
Tata vishuddhyat yagavan vratadibihi.
Yata harer nama padairudahritai.
Yata nama padayurudahritai.
Tad uttama shloka gunopalambakam.
Taduttama shloka gunopalambakam.
By following the Vedic ritualistic ceremonies or undergoing atonement, sinful men do not become as purified as by chanting once the holy name of Lord Hari. Although ritualistic atonement may free one from sinful reactions, it does not awaken devotional service. Unlike the chanting of names, which reminds one of the Lord's fame, qualities, attributes, pastimes, and paraphernalia. In the purport, Prabhupada writes, Srila Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur comments that the chanting of the holy name of the Lord has special significance that distinguishes it from the Vedic ritualistic ceremonies of atonement for severe, more severe, or most severe sinful actions. Okay. Later on, Prabhupada writes, this cannot promote a sinful man to the stage of loving service to the Lord. That means atonement. On the other hand, chanting the holy name of the Lord even once not only frees one immediately from the reactions of the greatest sins, but also raises one to the platform of rendering loving service to the Supreme Personality of Godhead, who is described as Uttama Shloka because he is famous for his glorious activities. Then a couple of lines down, Prabhupada writes, continues, what cannot be achieved through the performance of Vedic rituals can be easily achieved through the chanting of the Lord's holy name. And then finally he says, the Sankirtan movement we have started offers the best process for becoming purified of all sinful reactions and coming immediately to the platform of spiritual life. Prabhupada is glorifying how the holy name is very important. Even reading up to this point, then we should think how we should be chanting, no? Right? Right? Instead of just not giving the time or the effort in chanting properly. So therefore this should be burned in our consciousness. Otherwise, we can't save ourselves. So how can you save others? Yeah. Then it all just becomes a routine or show only. So we should be serious with our practice so our people know this is tangible. It will make sense to them. Oh, these people are serious, they are doing it. So now they want to help me also, like that. Text 12.
Naikantikam tadhi krite api nishkrite mana punardhavati cheda satpate tat karma nirharama abhipapsitam hare gunanuvadak khalu sattva bhavanaha.
The ritualistic ceremonies of atonement recommended in the religious scriptures are insufficient to cleanse the heart absolutely, because after atonement one's mind again runs toward material activities. Consequently, for one who wants liberation from the fruitive reactions of material activities, the chanting of the Hare Krishna mantra or glorification of the name, fame and pastimes of the Lord is recommended as the most perfect process of atonement, because such chanting eradicates the dirt from one's heart completely. So it's already stated here, simply chanting nicely, glorifying the Lord. Again in the 5th canto, Rishabh Dev spoke to his son. So the last paragraph, Prabhupada writes, therefore Srimad Bhagavatam says, Tapo divyam putraka yena sattvam sudyat. One must perform tapasya, austerity, to purify his existence in order to come to spiritual platform. This tapasya and austerity is chanting, glorifying the name of the Lord, his fame, attributes, doing things for him, preaching on his behalf, glorifying, speaking about the Lord. All these are our austerities we are supposed to perform. And when we do that for the Lord, when you do that, then Prabhupada says it's very easy and purifying process, easy purifying process by which everyone can be happy. Because when you do it for the Lord, it becomes selfless. When you do it for your own, then it becomes selfish. And when you become selfish, it becomes problematic for everybody. So therefore, preaching is to be done for the Lord. Everyone should just do it for the Lord. Not that I'm doing it, I'm the leader, there must be a leader for sure, but still you cannot covet that position. Otherwise you will have situation. So Prabhupada continues, therefore everyone who desires the ultimate cleansing of his heart must adopt this process. Other processes such as karma, jnana and yoga cannot cleanse the heart absolutely. So what are you going to do about it? Right? These are things you all have to think carefully. It's one thing to read and say, it's another thing to put to practice. Tapasya, austerity, penance, how much to do, how to do, when to do, why we have to do. Text 13.
RadhaKrishna said chanting is both the means and the end.
Yeah, of course. But still to chant also you must practice austerity, no? It is part of the austerity. Because we want to only talk so many things, right? So it becomes so difficult when someone tells us to chant. So that is the reason why he said also preaching is also austerity. Yeah. Text 13.
Atainam mapanayate
Atainam mapanayata
Kritaseshagha nrishkritam
taseshaga niskritam
Yat asau bhagavan nama
yad asau bhagavan nama
Mriyamanaha samagrahit
mriyamanaha samagrahit. At the time of death, this Ajamila helplessly and very loudly chanted the holy name of the Lord Narayana. That chanting alone has already freed him from the reactions of all sinful life. Therefore, servants of Yamaraja, do not try to take him to your master for punishment in hellish conditions. So the Vishnu Dutas, Prabhupada says, who are superior authorities, gave orders to the Yamadutas, who did not know that Ajamila was no longer subject to tribulations. You can take a chair.
No, Prabhu, I want to stand.
Was no longer subject to tribulation in hellish life for his past sins, because he chanted one time only. You need to chant purely and that's it. Yeah, everything is purified just one time. Of course, in the Bhagavad Gita, Prabhupada quotes also, one must be eradicated of sinful life also to also be able to do devotional service. So, in a sense, Ajamil has already chanted Narayana so many times, he's already purified. And so finally he chanting one last time, he's doing devotional service like that. Yeah. Yesham tu antagata papam jananam punya karmanam te dvanda moho vinirmukta bhajanti mam drudha vrataha. So such a person, drudha vrataha, bhajanti mam. So they can worship the Lord with firm determination, strong determination, not an illusion. Yeah, that service is done with a reason behind it, a proper understanding behind it. So similarly, we all have to have the proper conclusions in our efforts to chant also. That why I'm chanting, why I'm doing my sadhana practice, why I became a devotee. That must be there. Otherwise, we are always in moha. It's not stopped. That moha, the illusion is always there. Yeah. Okay. Unless we are out of this situation, you cannot be doing devotional service. You can't do devotional service, so to speak, which is what Prabhupada's point is. And then what is the point in even saying, I'll remember Krishna at the time of death? You can't. Because you have so many other things, agendas to worry about. Right? Just like the two guys in the boat who were fighting stone and scissors like that. So when they were both drowning, they were still fighting, but they're not thinking of Krishna. Right? The intention was to win. Selfless. They weren't selfless or any other situation. The whole intention is, I must be better than the other guy. That is what sinful life does. Impious activity creates that kind of mentality, self-centered mentality. So we have to be very careful.
I heard this one story.
Yeah.
So people were traveling in the local train in Bombay. So usually crowded, right?
Yeah.
So they were fighting for that one seat. So it's mine like that. And then they were fighting. Even their staff came, still they forgot the content.
Yeah. Well, mind is not focused. Yeah. Foolish.
So when their destination came, they forgot, still they were continuing
Fighting.
I was once going to this place. The last station is Churchgate. So From there actually the train starts. So my train was reaching to Churchgate. So I wanted to get down. And I just got up. And then one person, he hold my hand and he said, sit. Said, I have to get down this last station. He said, no, sit. I didn't understand. And in seconds, Prabhu, hundreds of people went here.
Wow.
He was trying to protect me.
Yeah.
He said, if you go there, you will be like
Crushed.
crushed.
He
He just hold my hand and he said, sit. I really didn't
You
understand.
got some finally or no?
Anyway, you can see.
Yeah, no, he said. Then he said, well, everybody sits, then you get.
You can get out. So you can see Krishna protected you.
Yeah, because they are looking for seat, right?
Right, yeah.
That's what happens if you travel in train unreserved also. Oh, Krishna, it is like.
Okay, text 14.
Sorry to stop the train. Now train is going on.
Yeah, it's fighting.
Yeah.
Sanketyam parihasyam va.
Sanketyam parihasyam va.
Sobham helanameva va.
Sobham helanameva va.
Vaikuntanama grahanam.
Vaikuntanama grahanam.
Aseshagaharam viduhu.
Aseshagaharam viduhu. One who chants the holy name of the Lord is immediately freed from the reactions of unlimited sins. Even if he chants indirectly to indicate something else, jokingly, for musical entertainment, or even neglectfully. This is accepted by all the learned scholars of the scriptures. So you just see how powerful the holy name is. The reason why we don't seem to get the result is because we are somehow offensive. Yeah. Text 15.
Patitas khalito bhagnaha.
Yeah.
Sorry, Prabhu. So Mahatma Gandhi also, will that be considered offensive chanting? Because I heard that Bhakti Siddhanta Maharaj said that it's like a dog barking, for him.
Mahatma Gandhi, I don't know whether he chanted or not. I don't know. Some people say he never
chanted.
chanted.
Of death, he said,
Chanting rounds.
Yeah, it's a made up. People are saying like that.
Yeah, some people say he was all made up.
All made up?
Yeah.
Huh?
Anyway,
People who were there.
Nobody was
We
there.
don't
so
have
know.
a
Yeah.
person
Only
who was
Krishna
with
knows.
him at this point of time to confirm.
Yeah,
Only
people.
Krishna knows.
so anyway, I've heard also a conversation where Prabhupada said he was born as British, as Charles, Prince Charles.
Oh, later, after he's dead.
Yeah.
Oh, really?
Yeah. That's what I heard. I don't know how true it is. Disclaimer. Huh? The current Charles, the old guy, yeah.
Nehru is a dog in
There's a
Sweden.
dog
Yes,
in
Prabhupada said
Sweden.
Nehru is a dog in Switzerland, yeah.
Switzerland is Sweden.
Sweden or Switzerland, yeah.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Oh, I didn't know this.
Because he was after the governor's wife.
Mountbatten.
Yes,
So then
so
who is
I don't know.
Diana?
Huh?
Diana.
No, the Prabhupada wasn't here. No? What are you talking about?
Oh, she's gone through.
Okay. 15.
Patitas kalito bhagnaha.
Patitas kalito bhagnaha.
Sandastastapta ahataha.
Sandastastapta ahataha.
Harir ityaveshanaha.
Hariryavishenaha.
Umanarhati yatanaha.
Umanarhati yatanaha. If one chants the holy name of Hari and then dies because of an accidental misfortune, such as falling from the top of a house, slipping and suffering broken bones while traveling on the road, being bitten by a serpent, being afflicted with pain and high fever, or being injured by a weapon, one is immediately absolved from having to enter hellish life even though he is sinful. Okay, if they are not offensive, then it works. When you are questioning. So you don't know about Gandhi. Maybe he was offensive. Text 16.
Gurunam cha lagunam cha.
Gurunam cha lagunam cha.
Guruni cha laguni cha.
Guruni cha laguni cha.
Prayaschittani papana.
Prayaschittani papana.
Jnatvoktani tani maharshibhihi.
Jnatvoktani maharishibhi. Authorities who are learned scholars and sages have carefully ascertained that one should atone for the heaviest sins by undergoing a heavy process of atonement, and one should atone for lighter sins by undergoing lighter atonement. Chanting the Hare Krishna mantra, however, vanquishes all the effects of sinful activities, regardless of whether heavy or light. And then Prabhupada gives a story about Krishna pastime, about Samba and all. The whole idea Prabhupada wants us to understand is, no matter how sinful we are, if we take to the chanting of the holy name of Krishna, Balaram or Narayana, they will protect us. Yeah. Text 17.
Taistanyagani puyante
Taistanyagani puyante
Tapodana vratadibihi Nadharmajam tadrudayam Tad api sangri sevaya.
Although one may neutralize the reactions of sinful life through austerity, charity, vows and other such methods, these pious activities cannot uproot the material desires in one's heart. However, if one serves the lotus feet of the personality of Godhead, he is immediately freed from all such contaminations. So material desires you cannot get rid of it doing any other activities. Only activity that can get rid of it is devotional service, spiritual activities. Okay, so bear that in mind. You cannot say I'm going to do some charity in India, I'm going to build this or that. It doesn't work. As stated in the Srimad Bhagavatam 11-42, Bhakti Parishanubhava Viraktir Anyatra Cha. Devotional service is so powerful, the one who performs devotional service is immediately freed from all sinful desires. So when you are doing it, at that moment, when you're focused, you're free. But after you come out, your mind is again wandering because you're not focused. Yeah. Then you create more sinful desires or other foolish desires. Yeah. Couple of lines after that, Prabhupada says, one who is situated in devotional service no longer has material desires. Right? When you are focused doing devotional service, you are not thinking of anything material. If you are, then you are not doing devotional service. Yeah. And one who is focused 100%, he has no more sinful life. That's the difference. Our problem is we are doing nicely, then we have a break of sinful life, then devotional, like that, that's what we are doing. So that's what Prabhupada is mentioning. So his point, Prabhupada says in the last couple of sentences, he says, material desire should be completely stopped. Otherwise, although one's austerities, penances and charity may free one from sin for the time being, one's desires will reappear because his heart is impure. Thus he will act sinfully and suffer. So that means even though you know what is right and wrong, if it sufficiently increases and increases, you will do the wrong thing. Without control, you cannot control it. So therefore it's very dangerous. So better to always do devotional service. Somehow or other your life you should plan from now to retire at the age of
50.
Not at 88. Right? You won't get second chance. We know already. This is our second or 100 or millionth chance.
This Prabhu is already planning now.
What? So plan ahead, like 50, 60 around there. Get ready to quit and go and chant and. Prabhupada says you can even go to Mayapur. We have a big temple. Go there and chant. You don't even have to do anything else. Yeah, he says like that. Text 18.
Many devotees are bought home.
Yeah, doesn't matter.
So
yeah.
But then there is also said that if you go to Mayapur again, Dhamma Parads and all those things will come into play and so on.
Anyway, of course, if you think of, I'm going to do the aparad, I might as well be in hell. That's what you're saying, Rather, you should think, I'll go there and try and do some service. Yeah. It is true though, if you are not trained properly, you cannot go to the
There is
dham.
no service, you should not.
Yeah. Unless you have some tangible things to do there, you will feel bored and then your mouth will not stop boring. Yeah. Okay, text 18.
ज्ञानाद् अथवा ज्ञानात् उत्तमश्लोकनामयत् संकीर्तितम् अहं पुंसो दहेदेधो यतानलः.
As a fire burns dry grass to ashes, so the holy name of the Lord, whether chanted knowingly or unknowingly, burns to ashes without fail all the reactions of one's sinful activities. Right? Very straightforward. Text 19.
यथागतं वीर्यतमम् उपयुक्तं यदृच्छया अजानतो आत्मगुणम् कुर्यान्मन्त्रो अपि उदाहृतः.
If a person unaware of the effective potency of a certain medicine takes that medicine or is forced to take it, it will act even without his knowledge, because its potency does not depend on the patient's understanding. Similarly, even though one does not know the value of chanting the holy name of the Lord, if one chants knowingly or unknowingly, the chanting will be very effective. So in the Prabhupada writes, in the Western countries where the Hare Krishna movement is spreading, learned scholars and other thoughtful men are realizing its effectiveness. For example, Dr. J. Stilson Judah, a learned scholar, has been very much attracted to this movement because he has actually seen that it is turning hippies addicted to drugs into pure Vaishnavas who voluntarily become servants of Krishna and humanity. And then a couple of lines down, Prabhupada says, this is practical proof of the effectiveness of the Hare Krishna movement, which is supported in this verse. So it works. It works. We cannot say it doesn't work. It works. A lot of us have changed from what we were and what we are now. That means it's working. It's only a question of time before we all become pure devotees. Text 20.
Shri Shuka Uvacha.
Okay.
Shri Shuka Uvacha. Ta evam suvinirniya. Dharmam Bhagavatam Nripa. Tam yamya pasha nirmuchya. Vipram mrityor amucham.
Sri Sukadeva Goswami continued, my dear king, having thus perfectly judged the principles of devotional service with reasoning and arguments, the order carriers of Lord Vishnu released the Brahmana Ajamila from the bondage of the Yamadutas and saved him from imminent death. Wow. So they just freed him. The Yamadutas are just standing stunned, don't know what to do. Text 21.
Iti pratyuditayamya dutayatva yamantikam yamaragne yatha sarvam achachakshur arindama.
My dear Maharaj Parikshit, O subduer of all enemies, after the servants of Yamaraja had been answered by the order carriers of Lord Vishnu, they went to Yamaraja and explained to him everything that had happened. So they were like complaining, They were very unhappy because they couldn't get him. Text 22.
Vijapashad vinirmukto Gadavi prakritim gataha Bhavande shirasa Vishnoho Kinkaran darshanotsawaha.
Having been released from the nooses of Yamaraja's servants, the Brahmana Ajamila, now free from fear, came to his senses and immediately offered obeisances to the Vishnu Dutas by bowing his head at their lotus feet. He was extremely pleased by their presence, for he had seen them save his life from the hands of the servants of Yamaraja. So Prabhupada says Vaishnavas are also Vishnu Dutas. because they carry out the orders of Krishna. So when you go and save so many Ajamilas in this world, that's Prabhupada's point, Text 23.
Tam vivakshum abhipretya Mahapurusha kinkaraha Sahasa pashyatastasya Tatrantardadire anaga.
O sinless Maharaj Parikshit, the order carriers of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, the Vishnu Dutas, saw that Ajamila was attempting to say something, and thus they suddenly disappeared from his presence. So in the purport, Srila Prabhupada quotes us from the Shastra, doesn't say from where. For persons who are pishta, very sinful, and durachara, misbehaved, or very unclean in their habits, who are against the existence of God, who disrespect Vaishnavas and Brahmanas, and who eat anything and everything, untimely death is sure. It is said that in Kali Yuga one has a maximum lifetime of 100 years, but as people become degraded, the duration of their lives decreases. Payen alpa yushaha. Because Ajamila was now free from all sinful reactions, his lifetime was extended. Remember, he was about to die, even though he was to have died immediately. When the Vishnu Dutas saw Ajamila trying to say something to them, they disappeared to give him a chance to glorify the Supreme Lord. Since all his sinful reactions had been vanquished, he was now prepared to glorify the Lord. Also, the last line in the last paragraph, Prabhupada writes, to increase his eagerness to glorify the Lord, they disappeared so that he would feel separation in their absence. In the mood of separation, glorification of the Lord is very intense. So that is why they disappeared, to help him have that intensity. Just like Narada Muni in the first canto, right? Krishna showed his form and disappeared. So he was hankering. So whatever final remnants of material things there will be purified. So the same thing for Ajamila also. They were trying to help him. Text 24-25.
Ajamilo api athakarnya Dutanam yama krishna yoho Dharmam bhagavatam shuddham Traivedyam cha gunashrayam Bhaktiman bhagavatyashu Mahatmya shravanadarehe Anutapo mahanasi Smarato ashubhamatmanaha.
After hearing the discourses between the Yamadutas and Vishnu Dutas, Ajamila could understand the religious principles that act under the three modes of material nature. These principles are mentioned in the three Vedas. He could also understand the transcendental religious principles which are above the modes of material nature and which concern the relationship between the living being and the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Furthermore, Ajamila heard glorification of the name, fame, qualities and pastimes of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. He thus became a perfectly pure devotee. He could then remember his past sinful activities which he greatly regretted having performed. So this happens, once you become more and more pure, you will see yourself as very fallen, which you read in the Acharya's songs, and because they really feel it. Not that they are jokingly writing just for us, no, they feel it. So Ajamil is now feeling it. So in the last paragraph, in the middle of last paragraph, Prabhupada says, people generally think that religion should be pursued for material profit, right? A lot of people think like that. This may be suitable for persons interested in material life, but one who is interested in spiritual life should be attached to Paro Dharma, the religious principles by which one becomes a devotee of the Supreme Lord. Yato Bhaktir Adoksache. Right? So again, it's for us to consider why I am doing this bhakti process. Unless we keep thinking like that, we will not do it as Parodharma. We will do it as material. We will go for material thing, yeah, you will. Because material energy will cover you and you think you are spiritual. So it's very important not to get this trapped in this situation.
Becomes Kaitava Dharma.
Yeah, becomes Kaitava Dharma. We can kick it out. So, think carefully. It's not just Prabhupada writing just for, because he wants to fill the page up or whatever. You can see oftentimes he quotes the same thing and so on. So that he is trying his best to enter our hearts. To soften our hard-heartedness in wanting to practice seriously. Yeah, this is compassion. This is real compassion.
Repeating like a to child.
It is very important. I'm trying to emphasize this. So think carefully, because it's not like we all initiated. It's so great. Yeah, it's great, but it's not enough. Yeah. So it's not like lassoing people and then I got so many people initiated. No, how many of them are going back to God here? Then you can say I got a good score. Yeah. Otherwise, it's just just a numbers game. We are not here for numbers. Prabhupada said one moon is better than so many stars. Yeah. So that means take it up seriously. Then you will find that your life will make more sense. And then when you help others, ahitukya pratihata yayadme suprasisa. So they will feel it, and you will feel it also, like that.
Prabhupada also says when one person becomes a pure devotee, our mission is successful.
Yeah, that's it. Yeah.
Prabhupada humbly said.
Yeah, he said. We know that Prabhupada's movement is perfect because there's so many devotees gone back to Godhead. We know that for a fact. Yeah? Either they tell us directly or by the way they have behaved, they have gone back to Godhead. So anyway, in the last couple of lines, Prabhupada says when one is situated on the platform of devotion service, one is freed from impediments and completely satisfied. That means either the impediments don't occur or you don't see anything as impediment, or the Lord himself comes and makes sure there's no impediments. And you are always satisfied, right? Having been elevated to that platform, Ajamila began to lament for his past materialistic activities and glorify the name, fame, form and pastime of the Supreme Personality of God. So another thing you need to know is Ajamil is lamenting for his past activities. So similarly, you all have to think about your past life also and lament that why I did this, why I'm such a rascal. So that attitude, when you develop, you will become also humble, because otherwise you think you are better than the average Joe out there. You think, I'm a devotee, he's not. No, just imagine what you were before. Maybe worse than the average Joe. Text 26.
Aho me paramam kashtam.
Aho me paramam kashtam.
Abhud avijatmanaha.
Abhud avijitatmanaha.
Abhud avijitatmanaha.
Abhud avijitatmanaha.
Yena viplavitam brahma.
Yena viplavitam brahma.
Vishalyam jayatatmana.
Vishalyam jayatatmana. Ajamila said, alas, being a servant of my senses, how degraded I became. I fell down from my position as a duly qualified Brahmana and begot children in the womb of a prostitute. So he's thinking bad about himself, not that he's thinking the prostitute is bad. There's a difference. Yeah, he's taking responsibility for his mistake. He's seeing himself as such a horrible person. Yeah. So in any case, Prabhupada talks about how in the higher caste people are chosen to marry. So that the next generation of children are of a higher grade. So then he says how astrology is used to ensure the boy and girl have a good compatibility, basically. But it's not everything, okay? Right? You can use it to assist, but not use it for everything. Okay? Astrology is just for it's a tool only, yeah. Okay, so, but because why? But then Prabhupada at the end says, Of course, this is Trigunya, a material calculation according to the Vedas, but if the boy and girl are devotees, there need be no such consideration. So, you don't have to worry. Right? We don't look at if the girl is very good and the boy is from another family, you don't do all this, you don't do that, he says. A devotee is transcendental, and therefore in a marriage between devotees, the boy and girl form a very happy combination. Now this is reality, but it didn't work out like that in the early days, because many of the men were not qualified or what, they abused the women also like that. So we have a bad history. Yeah. Because of lack of training, lack of understanding, not reading, not chanting, not following regulative principles. Yeah. Huh?
Lack of surrender.
Lack of surrender.
So I have one thing coming in my mind. We have read about Anuloma and Pratiloma, right? When a woman married, like a Kshatriya woman married a Brahmana. And I'm thinking about Sutta Goswami, Roma Harshana Suttas. They were devotees, right? Maybe not Roma Harshana Sutta, but now Prabhupada is here saying that the devotees, they don't have to consider about this.
Yeah.
But when Roma Harshana Sutta was killed by Lord Balrama, then it was said that he was a Pratiloma kid. That is why that happened.
Meaning
now I'm thinking there maybe Roma Harshana Sutta was not a devotee. I'm just thinking. And
he was offensive to Lord Balaram. And so therefore when someone's sitting on there, Vyasa's son, Prabhupada writes, I remember, right? And he was not being respectful. When someone, you also have to know, Maryada Vyatikarana should be practiced, which means someone superior comes, you should get off the Vyasa's son and give them the seat. But in his case, he was acting superior to Lord Balaram. Not only that, he was trying to ridicule Balaram by showing his teeth and smiling at him.
Even Roma Harshana Sutta?
I think he is the one who was doing it when he got killed, no?
Yeah.
Sutta means he was inside.
No, not the son. I'm not talking about the son.
Not the
Sutta.
son. Roma, he was smiling and showing
Yeah.
That's why he got mercy.
Yeah, that's why he got he took the kusha grass and then he cut his chopped it. Then, of course, he doesn't have to do any atonement, but the Lord wanted to set an example, so he went parikram. Balaram.
He also asked, should I bring back to life to other Brahmana? They said no, whatever is done.
Yeah. So they said you don't have to, but he said no. Then the Brahmana said, okay. Yeah, he said I want to set example, so that's why he did. So that's a different situation altogether. It's due to offences. Yeah.
So now one more thing in this thing. How do we think Pratiloma and Aniloma? Is it the men marrying a lower woman or a woman marrying a higher man? Because it is
generally it is acceptable for a woman to marry a higher.
So it goes by the woman.
The man. He's higher.
If the man is higher, woman is lower,
It's
then
okay.
it is Aniloma. And when okay,
I don't know which Loma, but I know it's okay. It's acceptable, yeah. But the woman on a higher caste shouldn't marry a lower caste, because the cultural understanding is not there. The men will not be able to guide and protect accordingly.
She'll be superior.
She is superior generally, but if he doesn't know the rules, the regulation, then she actually has to follow him, right?
Yeah.
So then she will become lower. So that's why it's not acceptable. Yeah. But in Kali Yuga, Kalo Shudra. Yeah, you can say rich and poor. But in devotional life also you can see, and sometimes you can see that the ladies are more spiritual than the men, like that. Yeah. More steady, more fixed, So in that situation, the Guru sometimes tells the men, you should take advice from your wife, like that. Yeah. So that will help them in their family situation. Because sometimes the husband is a crazy guy, then he does whatever he wants, then the whole marriage is useless. So then the Gurus can see that, they'll say, no, you always ask, and if she agrees, then do. So some husbands are like, okay, they like that kind of orders, they will do that. Yeah. Not that they can't protect, but they don't know how to make good decisions. Yeah. So in that situation, yeah, we should take proper advice. Yeah. Okay. Text 27.
Dhinmam vigarhitam shabde dushkritam kulakajjalam hitva balam satim yoha aham surapim asatim magham.
Alas, all condemnation upon me. I acted so sinfully that I degraded my family tradition. Indeed, I gave up my chaste and beautiful young wife to have sexual intercourse with a fallen prostitute accustomed to drinking wine. All condemnation upon me. Nowadays the society is such that they expect even the woman to drink. Must be drinking, right? I don't know how we all occasional drinking, cocktails. They expect the social drinking. Nonsense, Anyway, in the purport, the whole purport is very nice. Prabhupada says this is the mentality of one who is becoming a pure devotee. He's thinking like that. When one is elevated to the platform of devotion service by the grace of the Lord and the spiritual master, one first regrets his past sinful activities. So, like I said, you should reflect in your heart and regret your past mistakes. This will purify your hearts. This helps one advance in spiritual life. The Vishnu Dutas had given Ajamila the chance to become a pure devotee, and the duty of a pure devotee is to regret his past sinful activities in illicit sex, intoxication, meat eating and gambling. Not only should one give up his past bad habits, but he must always regret his past sinful acts. What did Prabhupada say? Always regret his past sinful acts. This is the standard of pure devotion. Not that, it's done, I'm pure. That means you have a problem. Ego problem.
PDS.
Huh?
They call it PDS.
Yeah,
Pure
devotee syndrome. So we have to be very careful. PDS could be pure devotion service. So, but he must always regret his past sinful acts. That means not go around telling people, but he in his heart he should feel, I'm not really that, when you do devotional service nicely and you're helping people, people will come and say you're so great, so wonderful. But you should know where you were at, and then you should reflect and say, I'm not really that great.
That's when we should remind ourselves.
Yeah. You should say, I'm not really that great. Somehow I'm helping, that is okay, but I'm not really great, And then the thanks should go to Krishna, spiritual master, and other devotees who have given you in this position. So that's what Prabhupada wants us to understand and practice. Right? He doesn't have to say you all have to think like that. He just by his purpose you have to think like that. So it's very important to practice.
Can I bring one anecdote on the drinking wine?
Yeah, go ahead.
So there is one Indian doctor in Florida. So one little girl was crying.
Crying?
Girls cry. All babies cry. He said, give her some wine so that she will keep quiet.
Calm down.
He wants to start at that age.
There you go. I mean, he doesn't see anything wrong. Yeah. Just say, he's a doctor and doesn't know the child can get addicted to alcohol.
But in France, that's a culture. I had
this fellow is an Indian in
friend,
America.
she was from France. Very small kids, they just give them a small glasses of wine.
Wine, yeah.
From 6 months onwards, they start
6
having.
months.
Yeah, very small kids. That's their culture with the food they have.
Yeah, they say it's a tonic. Yeah. They say it's good for heart. Anyway, it's all nonsense.
Grape juice.
Grape juice.
But Prabhu, in that case, the cough syrup also is bad to have, right? And that has alcohol.
Should not take alcohol.
Only when you're really sick, when the doctor prescribes. Not just go and open and yeah, it's true. Yeah. Lot of young students, they buy over the counter. They buy OTC.
They take it like
and then they drink.
Cough syrup.
Cough syrup, yeah.
Cough syrup.
Like alcohol.
Alcohol, yeah.
But Prabhu, is that real alcohol that we put in that?
Yeah, this alcohol. What do you mean real or blood? Alcohol is alcohol. Chemical formula OH is there.
It's not the window spoon.
It's OH is there.
You should take Ramdev
Hydroxyl.
Baba's.
That's why they check their age.
C2H5OH is there.
Right.
Over the counter medication.
So what they do is they pay all the street beggars money to go and buy for them, like that. So it's a big headache for these people. What to do?
Also
That's-
people get all this, some drugs also, and then they make drug out of it. Right? They cook also.
Yes. The doctors will be saying.
Yeah, in general, they don't really do much. All they do is they help you cough more or suppress the cough. If you have too much coughing, they suppress. If you have too little coughing, they help you cough. Yeah, so it eases the irritation. That's all. That's all cough mixtures.
Expectorant is what it takes.
Yes.
Expectorant takes it out and suppressant it suppresses.
Yeah, that's it. Yeah. So better use take honey and ginger. That's better.
The reason cough body is giving cough medicine, that means it wants to get out.
Get it out. Yeah.
That's a symptom. Just.
Or you can buy what sitopaladi, ginger, stuff like that. Yeah.
Other one.
Yeah, haritaki. Yeah.
There is homeopathic cough syrup also. That's what we give for kids.
Yeah,
In general, over the
you could do all that.
Tivaranga Prabhu got something from Hyderabad.
Yeah.
It's really good.
Is it? No wonder you're so hyper.
It's made up of cow urine.
Oh,
Hyderabad
that's
temple it is available.
Okay. Text 28. Text 28.
वृद्धौ अनाथौ पितरौ
वृद्धानाथौ पितरौ
नान्यबन्धु तपस्विनौ अहो मयाधुना त्यक्ता अकृतज्ञेन निचावत् नरके वृषदारुणे धर्मज्ञाः कामिनो यत्र विन्दन्ति यमयातनः.
It is now clear that as a consequence of such activities, a sinful person like me must be thrown into hellish conditions meant for those who have broken religious principles and must there suffer extreme miseries. So he is regretting. Text 30.
किम्मिदं स्वप्न अहोस्वेत् साक्षात् दृष्टम् इहाद्भुतम् क्व याता अद्यते ये माम् व्यकर्षन् पाशपानयः.
Was this a dream I saw, or was it reality? I saw fearsome men with ropes in their hands coming to arrest me and drag me away. Where have they gone? Text 31.
अताते क्वगतात् सिद्धाः चत्वारश्चारुदर्शनाः व्यामोचयन् नियमानाम् बद्ध्वा पाशैरधोभुवः.
And where have those four liberated and very beautiful persons gone who released me from arrest and saved me from being dragged down to the hellish regions? Text 32.
अथापि मे दुर्भागस्य विबुद्धोत्तमदर्शने भवितव्यं मङ्गलेन येनात्मा मे प्रसीदति.
I am certainly most abominable and unfortunate to have merged in an ocean of sinful activities, but nevertheless, because of my previous spiritual activities, I could see those four exalted personalities who came to rescue me. Now I feel exceedingly happy because of their visit. So just a little association, he is feeling a lot of joy at the same time. So in the paragraph after Sadhu Sangha verse, Prabhupada writes, in the beginning of his life, Ajamila was certainly very pure. any associated with devotees and brahmanas. Because of that pious activity, even though he was fallen, he was inspired to name his son Narayana. Culture. Inspiration. So it could be Krishna. Certainly this was due to good counsel given from within by the Supreme Personality of Godhead. As the Lord says in the Bhagavad Gita, Sarvasya cha mridi sannivishto matta smriti jnanam apovanam cha. I am seated in everyone's heart, and from me come remembrance, knowledge and forgetfulness. The Lord who is situated in everyone's heart is so kind that if one has ever rendered service to him, the Lord never forgets him. Thus the Lord from within gave Ajamila the opportunity to name his youngest son Narayana, so that in affection he would constantly call Narayana, Narayana, and thus be saved from the most fearful and dangerous condition at the time of his death. So now all of you go and change your children's name. So you already chanting. Such is the mercy of Krishna. Guru Krishna Prasadepaya Bhakti Lata Bija. By the mercy of the Guru and Krishna, one receives the seed of Bhakti. This association saves the devotee from the greatest fear. In our Krishna consciousness movement, we therefore change the devotee's name to a form that reminds him of Vishnu. If at the time of death, the devotee can remember his own name, such as Krishna Das or Govinda Das, he can be saved from the greatest danger. So nice, Prabhupada. Therefore, the change of names at the time of initiation is essential. The Krishna consciousness movement is so meticulous that it gives one a good opportunity to remember Krishna somehow or other.
But women are at disadvantage.
Why?
Our names are...
Radha's name.
Okay.
So you'll go to Radharani, it's even better, no? So you should think like that, you know. That is why you should know what your name means and which deities are referring to which personalities. So you can meditate like that. Okay, I am the servant of that such a person, like that. Text 33.
अन्यताम्रियमानस्य नाशुचेर्विशलीपतेः वैकुण्ठनामग्रहणम् जिह्वा वक्तुम् इहार्हति.
Were it not for my past devotional service, how could I, the most unclean keeper of a prostitute, have gotten an opportunity to chant the holy name of Vaikuntapati when I was just ready to die? Certainly it could not have been possible. So he accepts that because he did some service, that it has Swalpam abhyasya dharmasya trayato mahato bhayat. Text 34.
क्वचाहं कितवः पापो ब्रह्मज्ञो निरपात्रतुप्पः क्वच नारायणेत्येत भगवन्नाम मङ्गलम्.
Ajamila continued, I am a shameless cheater who has killed his Brahminical culture. Indeed, I am sin personified. Where am I in comparison to the all auspicious chanting of the holy name of Lord Narayana?
Amazing realization.
Yeah, because he's purified, he's realizing all this position, he's seeing himself so fallen. I mean, only when you are realized and coming to purity, you will see like that. If you are not, you will think you are better.
Best.
Huh?
Not better, best.
Best, okay, some best. But in general, normal practicing devotee, he's not thinking of the Lord because he's thinking he is the Lord, like that. Right? So, in the Prabhupada says, those engaged in broadcasting the holy name of Narayana Krishna through the Krishna consciousness movement should always consider what our position was before we came and what is now. I mentioned. Yeah. Right? See, we don't read Prabhupada's book, it's most important. So remember this, what our position was before, where we came, what is now.
That is what we are.
We had fallen into abominable lives as meat eaters, drunkards and woman hunters or men hunters who performed all kinds of sinful activities. But now we have been given the opportunity to chant the Hare Krishna mantra. Therefore, we should always appreciate this opportunity. So now there are so many temples all over the world to give people this good fortune. Okay. So finally he says we must be conscious of the difference between our present and past conditions and should always be very careful not to fall from the most exalted life. So he's saying, Prabhupada is saying he has put us on a higher platform.
Please maintain there.
Yeah, so don't fall down.
Stay there.
Stay there or move on.
Move on.
Don't come down.
Somehow or other stay.
Yeah, somehow or other stay there or move on. Yeah. So conscious of the difference between our present and past is so important, right? So if you can think like that, then you will always be compassionate. When you see others who are struggling, it's easy for us to judge people. But the best way to judge is to always judge yourself. Where I was, now I was like that also. That's how you should think. So let's see how to help this person. Yeah. Not like, this guy useless, that guy useless. Oh, this guy is good, let me go and preach. Like that. You try and see, whoever is favorable, you give more association. Whoever is not as favorable, you can say Hare Krishna, give them prasad and move on, Right? So we'll continue tomorrow from 35. Srila Prabhupada ki jai.
Tomorrow 10 right?
Yeah, tomorrow it's 9.